Hi, I'm real excited to talk to you guys today about how to create a winning proposal. There's a lot of discussion out there, and I want to go through the step-by-step process that I used, and that yielded us an 80% conversion rate. So I think we can all agree that your proposal is a reflection of the quality of work that your company is going to deliver. So why would you put something together that didn't represent your company very well? Because if you submit a bad proposal, you have very little chance of winning the business. I have one question for you. What's your closing percentage of the proposals that you send out? And I really want you to look back at the CRM and see, because I talked to so many agencies over the years and they just throw out numbers and they don't have any data. Some of them actually do measure it and they're high. Some measure it and it's very, very low. And until you measure it, you don't know if you're doing it right or wrong. So I want you to go back, no matter what you take away from this lesson, I want you to measure what your closing percentage is. I also want you to look at how long it takes you to create a proposal. Does it take you a week? Does it take you a couple days? Does it take you a day? If it does, we need to rethink it. And I'm going to show you how to do that. Because we closed over 80% of our proposals, and I never spent over 15 minutes, and I'll walk you through it. So a proposal I treated as a phone number. If you got the numbers out of sequence, you're not going to reach that desired person. And that's how I factored all the elements of a proposal. You had to get them in the right order. And a lot of companies I talk to don't start off with a cover letter or even use a cover letter. And the cover letter's a very important piece because your prospect is talking to several of your competitors. And sometimes they actually pass your proposal around and now you're getting judged on the piece of paper and what's on the piece of paper. And how can you get them to dive deeper into the proposal like a landing page? And so what I would do on the cover page is explain that I understand their problem. I would give them a little brief description of who the company is. And then I'd ask them for feedback. And that's how I developed the proposal over time based on the questions and the comments that they actually recommended to me. And then I'd always end on the cover letter, "We're excited to partner with you." Just some psyche thing I'd always do, and it worked. The next is a cover page. And I always wanted to design something that was compelling to them. I wanted to make sure I had the client logo on there. I wanted to also have the date of the expiration of the proposal, which is really key. Have you ever sent out a proposal and then a year later, the company comes back and wants to engage with you, but your prices are almost double? Well, that's why you put that expiration date. It also gives them a sense of urgency. And then I would also list any key partnerships. So we were a Microsoft Gold partner, and a lot of the deals that we would do were Microsoft and .NET jobs. So I wanted to show that we were one of the experts in that field. Step number 3 is the executive summary. And this is probably the most important part. I actually jumped ahead. Most important part of the proposal. Because a lot of people get this wrong. People think the executive summary is supposed to sum up everything that's in the proposal. And that's not the fact. So I would always start off with stating 2 obvious facts the client knows is true. It's called NLP, Neuro-Linguistic Programming. And if you think about, salespeople do this all the time. They're always trying to get that client to say yes. So if you state 2 obvious facts that they know is true, they're most likely going to believe the third one. So I would say your industry is very competitive, and without a website, you have little or no chance in order to gain new prospects and leads off your website. And that is why we're proposing X. And so they would remember that. Then I would also, and number 2 is restate what they want most. So if they want a website, say, this is what you want. You want a website. But then you have to describe the big benefit or why. Why do they want that website? They want to make more revenue. They want to drive more traffic to that website. So you want to restate that. And you can take these in order. And then briefly describe what you're going to do. So we're going to start with designing a bunch of mock-ups first, and we're going to see what you like. Then we're going to make sure we do some usability testing on those websites and on very high level for the executive summary, but you get the picture. And then describe how it's going to work. Explain to them that you've also researched and your team has looked into their problem, and then address any concerns. So if you're a small agency and they know you're small, don't hide it under the covers and don't kind of, just bury it. Address it head on and say, look, I know we're a small agency, but the benefits of having a small agency is you get that personal attention. You know your team. We don't have high turnover. And so make sure you combat that. And the executive summary will help you with that. So like I said, this is the most important part of your proposal, and just don't summarize what's in the proposal. So step number 4, your service and deliverables. And so we would always categorize our proposal so it was easy to read versus just put everything on the proposal in order of what you think it needs to come in. We would categorize it, and we would categorize it in the most important things first. So if it was web design, we would lead with the creative and the process of web design. If it was a technology and an application, a mobile app, we would lead with that in the very beginning in the technology section. So we had it broken up into marketing, creative, technology, and hosting. And then within each section, I would get very, very descriptive. I mean, there is nothing that you wouldn't uncover in this proposal. And over time, as you're building this ultimate proposal template for your organization, it will get more and more detail. And so include your process, your methodology. You don't want them to have any questions, but you want that to be read easily, and I'll show you how we did it. But use bullets and descriptions. Add images just to make it visually appealing where you can. I would list out all the deliverables. I mean, how many versions that we would design for them? How many pages will they get? And everything that you can think about, because this will save you later on, because this will eliminate a lot of the assumptions. And then step 5, think about some of the upsell services and complementary services or products that you have that you can put in there. So maybe they didn't want search engine optimization right off the bat or pay-per-click. Just put, hey, this is not included in the proposal, but we may want to talk about this when we get into the strategy and the discovery section. List out what is not included. This is very, very important. So back in the day when we were designing, Flash was really popular. And designing Flash was a pain in the butt sometimes and took a lot of time outside of just the HTML. And so we would always put Flash is not included if we weren't designing it, or if a mobile version wasn't included, or responsive design not included. Make sure you list that stuff out. So here's an example, starting off on the creative services. And then you can also see where we have the client bracket. And so throughout the proposal, I would always make sure that I could do a find and replace very, very quickly. And this allowed me to do these proposals in under 15 minutes because I had this huge proposal template I could go through and take out the sections I didn't need and do a find and replace for the client name and any of the common stuff. But you can kind of see how I broke it up into process, methodology, and the different tools that we were going to use. Then we would also list out the deliverables. So you can kind of see up where it says phase 1 deliverables in the highlighted yellow. I wouldn't leave it highlighted yellow, but just helped us go through it quicker and go through phase 2 and phase 3. And then this is kind of the upsell products where you see additional website services. This is where I would put that in. And then where you see right under those 3 bullets, you see your company will provide unlimited design concepts, but not to exceed 64 hours. This is where I would put kind of not, the disclaimer stuff. And then I'd always end on the timeline, a mini timeline for each major service, not just a timeline for the whole proposal, because then it's a little easier for them to follow. I may have a timeline for the whole proposal, which is more than fine, but I would always have it for the mini sections so it's easy. Step number 5 is the project summary. So I would treat that as like a general ledger. And you could notice And all the services that I showed you, I never included any prices. So make sure you don't include any prices until you get to the project summary. You don't want someone to just read 80,000 for a website and not read on. You want them to read your whole process and methodology in order to make a decision based on value, not on price. So you can also see how we divided up the sections as well, the creative technology hosting and interactive marketing. And then we would even have a table right under that for the reoccurring or the monthly charges. So the table to the left was one-time setup. The table to the right was monthly. So it just made it easy and less questions for the client. Step number 6, this is where you actually start telling them about your company. Most people actually put this in the front of their proposal, and that's all wrong. They don't care about you until they understand that you can deliver the work. They're their best fan. So tell them a little bit about the company, how you guys got started. Most importantly, tell them about the people that are actually going to be doing the work. You can tell them about your experience and leverage the past successes that you have. Tell them about awards. And then step number 7 is put the contract and the signature page right on their proposal. Most people actually divide this. If you're a bigger organization, you may have a master service level agreement and statement of work. I understand. I'd always try to put them together because if you start separating these legal agreements, it starts taking a little bit longer to close. And I want you guys to close as quick as possible. And then step number 8, never lob the proposal over the fence. If you send the proposal, this is the number one reason people go silent and dark. I'd always tell them, hey, if we're going to put a proposal together, can I get your commitment that I can present this to you in person or over on the phone? And if they didn't agree to that, I said, well, we might not be the best fit. Because if you send that proposal, they're just going to be judging you on the piece of paper. So last, I want you to think about how to build the proposal template and think about what you're going to do, the find and replace on the variables, take out what's not needed on the proposal, what new sections can you add, and you're constantly going to be building to this template. But as you do it, you're going to get faster and faster. But right now, I don't want you to spend more than 45 minutes on the proposal. And the whole secret is, especially when you're going through these development projects, as you'll see on the proposal template I'll give to you guys that you have access to, I would charge for scoping versus kind of list out, because you may be thinking, well, how do you put a proposal together so quick for these highly custom projects? Well, I would charge a small fee, which I would call a tripwire, and we'll get into that, a small fee in order for them to for us to scope it. And then I would tell them, well, if you want to go somewhere else or scope it out, you'll have the plan. You can do that. And sometimes I would even charge just cost to do that. And then as I'm going through the questions, and we'll learn that through the other lessons, we would start building the proposal with the client and then populating the proposal. So that is how I built the proposal so quickly. And this is the order that I did for years and years. And I hope it works out for you guys for years and years.
Get off